You're rolling on all three cameras.
Do you want me to look right in the camera when I'm talking
Yeah,
to begin with?
introduce
Okay, and then I'll start talking and we'll just talk to each other. Okay.
3, 2, 1.
Well, today we have a very special guest. He's a buddy of mine. His name is Rufus Edmiston, and you may recognize that name. He's former Attorney General and Secretary of State of North Carolina. He even served papers on President Nixon in the Watergate fiasco. Rufus, welcome to the show.
Well, I'm very honored that you would come to my little humble abode that, by the way, has a subpoena that I served on Richard Nixon back in that room, which you've seen.
We're going to get a copy of that, and we'll show that.
Okay.
Rob and the producers will
Yeah.
film that before we leave here. So,
Well, I'm talking to the smartest man in the financial world that I know of anywhere, because how many books have you written?
5 books now.
And working on another one?
We're always working on, you know how it is, Rufus, you can't stop.
No, you can't. You can't. And the thing about your books, I shared some with some friends, is you don't leave out any steps. And you tell people that, okay, if you leave this step out, it doesn't work here.
Yep.
And it's plain, it's got English in it, subjects and verbs, that's why I like it, Coach.
Well, if you're working on a recipe in the kitchen and you forget to put the eggs in and it calls for 4
please.
eggs, it's not going to come out right. And so you skip a
Right.
step and it doesn't come out right. And Rufus, a lot of times you don't know until you go to take the cake out of the oven that you forgot the eggs. So it's down the road, and a lot of people make mistakes or they fall for dirty tricks, and it's not until deep into retirement when they realize they made mistakes. And to me, that's a bad point, because a lot of people are falling for dirty tricks out there in the financial
I
world.
like your checklist.
Mm-hmm. You got to have a
That's what
checklist.
the human mind works on, checklists. And I've seen your publications. Have you done this? Check it off, make it work. And one of the great things about your show is that you tell people practical advice about not getting ripped off. It's just amazing to me. And one thing, I'm going to ask you a question.
Sure.
How does an average person, Coach, who wants to hire an advisor? Now, we know the difference between you're a certified, licensed financial advisor. You've got a string of degrees there. I know the difference because I put into effect the law that said if you're going to call yourself a financial advisor, you've got to have very specific training and you've got to register with the Secretary of State's office.
Right. That's right.
But a person's trying to choose a person to help them with their money matters. And how do they find somebody that's not going to be putting them into things that feathers the nest of the so-called money advisor, and it's not really in the best interest of the client? I've known companies that sell you their stuff.
Yep.
And I don't find that generally to be a very good business in the financial planning.
Well, a lot of times the big companies you see advertised, they're the worst salesmen out there because they're always pushing their products, their proprietary products. And
Right.
as an investment advisor, and I am a 65 license, which you put into effect in North Carolina, where
Right.
in order to call yourself an investment advisor, you had to be an investment advisor.
Yes.
And that means you're a fiduciary. And as an attorney, you're an attorney also, and as an attorney, you know that you have to be a fiduciary means you have to keep your needs behind the client's needs.
Right.
And unfortunately out there, we see it every day. We've put together something called an advice giver's manual. And so it's a step-by-step book. It's checklists in there and all sorts of things to ask the advisor and make them sign. You know, if they're recommending something, make them sign that there's no fees in there over and above what they've told you about. Make sure there's no commissions coming out of your money. And so we have everything in writing, because my wife is an attorney too, and she said a verbal contract, it's as good as the paper it's written on. So when someone
absolutely.
tells you there's no fees, doesn't mean there aren't. But if they put it in writing, you can always go back and sue them if you have to, I guess.
Well, how does somebody get a hold of that? Because that should be widespread, your checklist.
We'll put a copy of that. They'll call the number on the screen here. We'll give them a copy, and it's a real good. It's got DVDs in there. It's got checklists. It's advice giver's manual. I need to get you a copy of it.
Oh, you certainly do.
You need to get Rufus a
See,
copy.
I am not a financial advisor because I didn't take the rigorous test. You did. But I am asked on so many occasions about all these things, and all I can do is say, get you somebody like Pete,
Yep.
the man that knows what he's doing. What's the biggest scam right now? What's with these flooded cars? What are you hearing? I know what I'm hearing.
Yeah, well, I'm hearing people buy a car that looks real good at a car lot, and they go to turn the heater or the air conditioner on after they leave the lot, and the lot says as is, no warranty, or once you drive off the lot, no more coming back in, and they turn the heater or the air conditioner on, and out comes mud.
Well, unfortunately, in North Carolina, and it's not the fault of DMV, you could have a car soaked up to the steering wheel with a flood damage, and it meets certain criteria. Can you crank it up? Can you put the brakes on? Can you roll the windows down? You can almost sell it, and you don't Now, you could go after them under the False and Deceptive Trade Practice, our Consumer Protection Division. I think your wife knows something about that.
Yep, she works over there.
But why should you have to do that? I think there should be a federal law, because the flooding business is not intrastate. It's everywhere, and cars move all the time. There should be one standard of what is a flooded car. Beware, you're buying a flooded car.
It's funny, right after a flood, you see the highway, you see a lot of these trucks coming down south. They're coming from up north down south.
Yes.
They have this, like Hurricane Sandy was the last bad flood. And if you go out on Highway 95, there was a convoy of trucks coming down carrying flood damaged cars to North Carolina, because like you said, we don't have rules that are good enough, not the fault of the current people here, but we need to look at that and see what's going on. It's something that I think if everyone would complain to the legislature, I think something would get done.
Oh, absolutely, I will.
Yeah, you know, it's like the screaming baby in the room. No one does a thing to the baby until it starts to scream, and then everyone stops
right.
what they're doing, make sure the diaper gets changed or the bottle gets given to it.
Well, that's fundamentally dishonest
Yep.
to sell a flooded car.
Yep. But the scam that I've seen is 3 times in the last year I've had a credit card stolen. Now, I still have the credit card in my wallet, but somebody's out there stealing credit card numbers, and they're calling the banks, and they're forging their way into your account. So I've had to have 3 times where fraud divisions of credit card companies have called me to see if I've been making charges over in Saudi Arabia or overseas somewhere. And of course, I haven't left the country.
Oh, Coach, I know we're running out of time, but do you see the economy improving any? Because that's how you make money, to get people to spend money.
I think that people need to learn, we hear of macro and microeconomics. Take care of yourself first, and the economy will follow. In other words, make sure that you do all you can in your own household and stop trying to depend on other people, and you'll be a lot better. And in my book, and I've got a copy right here, The 7 Financial Baby Steps, I show people step by step how they can at least get going in the right direction. Rufus and I signed this copy for you.
Oh, wonderful.
And I really thank your time. Thank you for your time today, as always. And we're going to have you again on the radio show soon, too.
I'm very honored.
Okay. Folks, Rufus Edmiston, former Attorney General, Secretary of State, and all-around great guy here in Raleigh, North Carolina.